Confused where to start? UPSC. One decision can change everything.
I'd like to thank Vajiram and Ravi.
Vajiram current affairs distribution.
Vajiram का भी काफी help.
Vajiram is the best.
But Vajiram, it is something holistic.
It helped me in boosting my confidence.
Structured learning expert. Mentorship in latest results, top 10 out of 10 from Vajiram. Legacy of AIR 1. Trust. One name. Vajiram and Ravi.
Hello everyone, my name is Bhavika Chopra and I've secured All India Rank 25 in the Civil Services exam of 2025, and I'm here to share my strategy with you. But just a background before we get into that. I've done my schooling partly from Shimla and partly from Chandigarh, following which I studied economics in St. Stephen's College in the University of Delhi, following which I worked with Ernst & Young, and then I joined the Civil Services in 2024 as an Indian Postal Service officer, where I am presently undergoing training. So as far as preparation is concerned, first I'd like to talk about my prelim strategy, and for that I'd like to recommend the NCERTs as a go-to. Of course, everyone does the same thing, and following the source books and making sure that your static is absolutely crystal clear before you even sit for the first attempt. So I was asked what my typical day looked like during prelims prep. I started prelims preparation in earnest December of 2024, which is not to say I had not prepared for prelims before, but when I was preparing for prelims for the 2025 attempt, that was when prep started. And a day normally would look like me waking up at 5:30 a.m., say sitting down and studying. Then I would go on to write the SFG test, which used to take place from 7 to 8 a.m. I used to come back home after writing the test, revise the test. Till about 10 o'clock, I used to be done with all of this, eat my breakfast and get ready for the day. Then I used to prepare for the next particular day. Say, for example, I was doing a particular subject, polity or something. Whatever was going to be on the test the next day, I would study for that. In the evening, though, I would take some time off for myself, an hour or two, just to go for a walk or do some light exercise to make sure I got a break. After that, I'd study again, and I would be done with dinner at about 9 p.m. And post that, I used to sleep at around 10:30 or 11 p.m. at the maximum. So I realized that setting daily targets was something that worked better for me, because all of these daily targets made sure that I was finishing my goal on time. I used to do this thing where I used to work backwards. I would fix a day, say for example, the 12th of April, by which I had to complete a particular thing, a PT 365, or a particular book that I had to revise, or some test that I had to revise, and I used to work backwards from there. That way, a fixed timetable in terms of hours that you chalk out to study are important, पर उसके अलावा अगर फिक्स टाइम टेबल नहीं हो और डेली टारगेट्स हो, वो काफ़ी बेटर वर्क करता है. I was also asked about my effective study hours. इफेक्टिव स्टडी आवर्स आपके प्रेप शेड्यूल में वेरी करेंगे. अगर शुरू में आप थोड़ा सा कम टाइम भी दे रहे हैं, से 6 घंटे या 5 घंटे, उतना चलता है. उसके बाद क्लोजर टू द प्रीलिम्स 8 घंटे कम से कम देने ज़रूरी हो जाते हैं. उस टाइम पे अगर थोड़ा सा आप कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ भी कर रहे हैं अपने फैमिली और फ्रेंड्स के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करना, दिस आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट अ मंथ और 2 बिफोर द एग्जाम, वो चलता है. पर थोड़ा सा अपने मेंटल सैनिटी के लिए डू टेक आउट सम टाइम टू ईदर गो फॉर अ वॉक और डू सम लाइट एक्सरसाइज. वन थिंग दैट गिव्स यू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ मेंटल क्लैरिटी इन विच यू आर नॉट स्टडिंग. So as far as current affairs was concerned, I used to stick to 2 newspapers, The Hindu and The Indian Express. Indian Express में से जो आपका explain section है वो बहुत अच्छा है और उस पर rely कर सकते हैं आप for mains and for prelims. और हिंदू में opinion and editorial और जो उनका text and context है, वो अगर आप हर रोज नहीं पढ़ सकते तो हफ्ते के end पे पढ़ लीजिएगा, पर उसको skip नहीं करिएगा. After reading this, I usually would not rely on notes. ये सारा अगर मेरे को कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन या डेटा मिलती थी तो आई यूज्ड टू राइट इट डाउन इन अ पर्टिकुलर पेज ऑन द नोटबुक और समथिंग दैट वाज अ पेज डेडिकेटेड टू दैट सब्जेक्ट. अगर पॉलिटी का कोई इंटरेस्टिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन है, इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट्स है, डेटा है, तो उसका स्क्रीनशॉट लेके रख लिया, क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ माय न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग वाज आल्सो डिजिटल. अगर उसमें से आप निकाल सकते हैं कि ये डेटा फैक्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है और उसको लिख सकते हैं या क्रॉप आउट करके रख सकते हैं तो वो कीजिएगा. पूरे आर्टिकल्स कलेक्ट नहीं कीजिए, हर आर्टिकल के लिए नोट्स बनाने भी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. As for compilations, I did not rely on any monthly source. जो विजन के PT 365 और मेंस 365 आता था वो मैं पढ़ती थी। जिस साल मैं प्रिपेयर कर रही थी राउस की कंपस भी आई थी फॉर प्रीलिम्स एंड आई डिड बोथ PT 365 एंड राउस कंपस डिलिजेंटली। करंट अफेयर्स के लिए प्रीलिम्स के लिए पर्टिकुलरली 2 इंस्टीट्यूट्स की मैगजीन्स करना इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि इस तरह से जो भी इंपॉर्टेंट करंट अफेयर्स एक ने नहीं कवर करे वो कहीं और कवर हो जाते हैं एंड इट एक्ट्स लाइक अ रिविजन if you're covering two simultaneously. CA current affairs revision friendly notes was not something I made. Current affairs was something I revised entirely through PT 365 और उसके लिए कोई ऐसे छोटे नोट्स नहीं थे, बट PT 365 एंड जो आपने एक और कंपाइलेशन मंथली आप उठाएंगे उसको कम से कम 2 बार रिवाइज कीजिएगा। एक बार पढ़ना है और एक बार उसको वापस जाके रिवाइज करना है। इसको पढ़ने का भी एक टेक्निक है, उसमें से आपको ये देखना है कि किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस बन सकते हैं एंड दिस काइंड ऑफ क्लैरिटी कम्स व्हेन यू गॉन थ्रू द PYQs अ सफिशिएंट नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स। इफ यू डोंट नो व्हाट इज देयर इन द PYQs, आपके लिए वो इंफॉर्मेशन उस टेक्स्ट से एलिसिट करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा। सब कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, आपको देखना है कि पिछले सालों में क्या क्वेश्चंस आए हैं और उसके बेसिस पे आपको PT 365 और जो दूसरी कंपाइलेशन है उससे आपने इंफॉर्मेशन उठानी है। As for the number of GS mocks I wrote for prelims, I honestly do not have a fair idea, but it must have been more than 150 mocks. क्योंकि वो डर मन से हटना चाहिए कि प्रीलिम्स का क्वेश्चंस कैसे सॉल्व करने हैं और इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस इतने टाइम में कैसे सॉल्व होंगे। तो जितने मॉक्स लिख सकते हैं उतने लिखिए, पर मॉक्स लिखने से ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है उनको एनालाइज करना। उनको एनालाइज करना जब मैं कहती हूँ तो उसमें आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि आप फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस गलत कर रहे हैं या कॉन्सेप्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस गलत कर रहे हैं। Of course, there's the original sin of reading the question incorrectly, which are questions which you should not get wrong. उस तरह के क्वेश्चंस अगर गलत हो जाए तो बहुत चुभता है और वो क्वेश्चंस हमें मिनिमाइज करने हैं एक्चुअल एग्जाम में। तो एक बार आप मॉक देते हैं तो आप देखिए कि कौन सा क्वेश्चन गलत हुआ है, क्यों गलत हुआ है और क्या इंप्रूवमेंट हो सकती है अगले मॉक में कि इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस आगे गलत ना हो। In my opinion, fact-based questions are something that you can afford to get incorrect because you tend to slip up sometimes. Sometimes facts slip through your fingers. But what you cannot get incorrect are concepts because concepts आपके mind में clear होने चाहिए ताकि आप जब apply कर रहे हैं in the actual exam तो issue ना आए। जो papers को mocks को analyze करना था वो इस तरह से होता था, पहले आप देखोगे कि आपके कितने करेक्ट हुए हैं और कितने इनकरेक्ट हुए हैं और जो भी इनकरेक्ट हुए हैं उसमें से कौन से हैं जो गेसेस इनकरेक्ट हुए हैं और कौन से हैं कि जो आपको 50-50 लग रहा था और उसमें से इनकरेक्ट हुए। सो यू हैव टू नैरो इट डाउन, वे यू एबल टू कट आउट 1 ऑप्शन और 2 ऑप्शंस एंड देन यू हैव टू सी हाउ यू कुड हैव थॉट डिफरेंटली फॉर अटेम्प्टिंग द क्वेश्चन। बेस्ड ऑन दैट then you make your short notes either on the side of the question paper or a separate sheet that you have. If you do it on the side of the question paper, it's easier. That is what I did. उससे रिविजन भी स्ट्रीमलाइन हो जाता है, आपको पता चल जाता है कि ठीक है इस मॉक के टाइम पे मेरा माइंडसेट क्या था। डिड आई गेट इट रॉन्ग बिकॉज आई वाज एग्जॉस्टेड फ्रॉम सॉल्विंग द क्वेश्चंस और डिड आई गेट इट रॉन्ग बिकॉज आई जस्ट मेड एन इनकरेक्ट गेस। नॉट एवरीवन विल नो ऑल द 100 क्वेश्चंस दैट आर आस्क्ड इन द प्रीलिम्स। आपका एम होना चाहिए कि कम से कम 30 क्वेश्चंस जो हैं स्टैटिक के वो ठीक होने चाहिए आपसे। एंड व्हेन इट कम्स टू द एक्चुअल एग्जाम अक्रॉस द इयर्स मेरा वेरी करा है कि मैंने कितने क्वेश्चंस अटेम्प्ट करे हैं, बट ऑन एन एवरेज अराउंड 80 to 95 क्वेश्चंस इन द अटेम्प्ट दैट आई क्लियर्ड फॉर द IAS व्हिच इज CSE 2025। I attempted around 92 or 93 questions exactly. And in 2023 when I cleared the exam I attempted around 85. So it depends on the level of the paper. अगर पेपर डिफिकल्ट है आपको आइडिया लग जाएगा अगर आप काफ़ी देर से पढ़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि स्टैटिक से उतना अगर नहीं आएगा तो पेपर सबके लिए डिफिकल्ट रहेगा। उसके हिसाब से you have to fine tune which questions you are to leave and which questions you are to attempt. There are some questions which are absolutely random and just in case you have some niche interests, of course you'll know about them. But other than that, most questions can be left. The ones which are uncertain and not static. So when it comes to my risk threshold to attempting these questions, it usually used to be at least I was able to narrow down the options to 2 options. If I was not able to do that, I would inevitably leave a question unless and until I had a very strong hunch or a gut feeling as most people call it. जिन questions का मेरे को idea नहीं था वो I would circle out right in the first iteration and I would cross it out that this question I'm not attempting. ये भी जब पेपर सॉल्व कर रहे हैं आप एक्चुअल प्रीलिम्स का, there are a lot of techniques to do it, a strategy to do it. The one that I followed was something I picked up from upscprep.com, which was that you solve the paper in three iterations. The first iteration, you just randomly read through the questions, you figure out your strong subjects, you familiarize yourself with the paper. You only mark the questions which you're 100% sure about, which are going to be around 30 to maybe 35 questions. In an easy paper, maybe 40 questions. So once you're done with that, then you move on to the second iteration, and the second iteration should ideally be somewhere around 50 to 70 questions, where you're at least marking the questions which you are 50-50 sure about. So at the end of each iteration, do go back and fill in the bubbles in your OMR sheet, because otherwise you'll be in a panic mode towards the end of the exam if you're not doing that. And in the last iteration, I would come down to around the last 10 or 15 questions which I was not very sure about, but I wanted to attempt. So towards the first iteration, you should know which questions you are absolutely leaving. Those questions should not take up too much of your mental headspace over the course of the next 2 hours. तो फर्स्ट इटरेशन, सेकेंड इटरेशन में 50-50 और थर्ड इटरेशन में जो आप 50-50 भी हैं पर आप उसके लिए उतना श्योर नहीं है, तो do it in 3 iterations. That usually helps you bring all the knowledge that you've studied to the front of your mind. So my source list was as follows. I followed the NCERTs for polity, geography, society, for history as well. And after that, I of course referred to the source books, which was Lakshmikant, Spectrum. Also for ancient and medieval history, I did not refer to any particular source book except for Nitin Singhania and for your 12th class NCERTs. For geography specifically, I relied on GC Leong and physical geography की NCERT. Besides that, environment के लिए सब लोग शंकर IAS करते हैं, मैंने भी वही करा. On top of that, something that I did different in this previous attempt was revising my papers very diligently. SFG by Forum covered almost all the static questions and all the static material. So उसको अगर एक बार revise कर लेते हैं आप, तो most of your static part is covered. Other than that, my primary sources were essentially what everyone else only does. Economics के लिए I did not follow a standard source since it was my graduation subject. But other than that, something specifically that I did for prelims was reading the budget and maybe not end to end जो PIB में उनका compilation आता है वो, और economic survey का compilation by Forum IAS. They do a good summary of that. You can pick up any institute summary of both these documents. These play an important role in at least having a broad overview कि economy में चल क्या रहा है. My mains was better structured this time क्योंकि मैं EWFG follow कर रही थी, और Forum does a very structured approach to it. They do GS2 followed by GS4, GS3 and then GS1. Usually that is their schedule. They change it up every once in a while, but that is fine. और वो external constraint अगर हो जाता है तो वो आपकी GS preparation entirely outsource हो जाती है. तो अगर आप sources follow कर रहे हैं, जैसे a lot of people follow Lakshmikant for polity, a lot of people rely on newspaper articles for IR. We'll get into the sources as the talk proceeds. But having an external structure for your tests and for your revision after the prelims really helps. Something that I also did differently this time was meeting the demand of the question. अगर आप question का demand ही नहीं meet कर रहे तो examiner आपको marks नहीं देंगे, आप जितने भी facts लिखें, figures लिखें. पर उसके अलावा once you're meeting the basic demand, if the question is asking how A is linked to B and you're answering that, what also really helps is adding in a new insight. Conclusion में अगर way forward लिख रहे हैं, conclusion में कोई innovative solution लिख रहे हैं, तो वो बहुत help करता है. बीच में अगर facts के साथ examples लिख रहे हैं, वो भी help करता है. Of course, there are a lot of people who have a great approach to answer writing for GS, so you can surely refer to their answer copies as well. So my GS answer structure used to have something of an introduction, a body, and then followed by a conclusion. That is not something that I would recommend anyone compromise on. ये 3 parts important है. जो body of the answer है उसको आप आगे भी split कर सकते हैं depending on whether or not it's a 10 marker or whether it's a 15 marker. Of course, an optional answer writing looks a lot different. तो introduction के लिए आप 2 facts juxtapose कर सकते हैं कि हमारे पास बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स हैं पर a lot of people enroll in private schools. At the same time, how the private sector is coveted for schools, but the government sector is coveted for colleges. So education पे कोई question आ रहा है तो आप ऐसे answer कर सकते हैं. This is a technique I picked up from Atish sir. And उनका ही मैंने course follow करा for polity, for prelims and for mains. My GS2 preparation was entirely outsourced to him. जब आपको किसी टेस्ट का फीडबैक मिलता है तो उसके लिए you have to study. You have to see where you went wrong, what you could have added. A lot of the times the feedback is generic, which is something that tends to happen a lot during the period between the prelims and the mains, because I'm guessing the examiners also have a lot of things to check. So you have to make that decision on your own, okay, whether or not there is something you could have added, whether you are missing something, whether you have met the demand in the first place. A lot of times we read the question and we get excited कि एक कीवर्ड दिख गया, उसी कीवर्ड के अराउंड हम आंसर फ्रेम कर देते हैं, पर हमें वो नहीं करना है. हमें मेक श्योर करना है कि हम जो पूछा गया है वो आंसर कर रहे हैं. सो वील गो सब्जेक्ट बाय सब्जेक्ट. फॉर GS1, ज्योग्राफी, हिस्ट्री, सोसाइटी, everything was entirely based on what the NCERTs have in their books. Something different that I did this time, I suppose, was integrating my optional subject knowledge into GS1, which is something that improved my score from 89 to 110 this time. Other than that, there was not anything significantly different that I did from my previous attempt, other than making sure that I was writing more points. Usually, we tend to compromise on the quality of the points, so that is not something I'd advise to a lot of people. If you can think multi-dimensionally and connect the entirety of GS, that usually helps. So even if you look at the syllabus is very structured, but at the same time it is very fluid. जो आप geography में points use कर रहे हैं आप environment में कर सकते हो, जो आप IR में points use कर रहे हो आप security में कर सकते हो. Same way जो आप society में GS1 में कर रहे हो वो GS2 में आप उसमें use कर सकते हैं, social justice में. Similarly, case laws that appear in polity can also be used in ethics, your GS4 paper. So everything is interconnected. Don't try to study for any paper in silos. Make sure that you are understanding a concept or a particular topic end to end. AI is connected to health, it's connected to education, it's connected to the environment, connected to polity, through legal procedures, everything. So whatever you can think of, you have to absolutely write it in your answer. Some things are very clear in our head, but they don't show up on paper. अगर आप एग्जामिनर को एक्सप्लेन कर पा रहे हैं कि मैं किस तरह से सोच रही हूँ या सोच रहा हूँ, that is the crux of answer writing. For GS2, like I said earlier, I relied on Atish sir's courses entirely, his YouTube channel and his paid course for Magna Carta, which is Magna Carta for prelims and for mains. Throughout my preparation, GS2 has been his headache. And for IR, something that I did differently this time was I focused a lot on opinion articles. There are a lot of retired diplomats who write a lot in the Indian Express and the Hindu. उनके आर्टिकल अगर आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें से कुछ आप बहुत अच्छी इंसाइट्स निकाल सकते हैं जो आप असली पेपर में भी लिख सकते हैं. On terrorism, one of our ex-foreign secretary had written an article about how terrorism works very differently in the global north and the global south. So if you can bring out that particular insight in an answer around terrorism which turned up in JS3, like I said earlier, this is an IR question also, this is a security question also. That will really set your answers apart. So for GS3, which was economy, security and environment and disaster management, again my sources were NCERTs for disaster management. For economy, I would recommend reading the budget and the economic survey. Other than that, a book that I particularly would recommend to everyone is India Incorporated by Arvind Panagaria. And by Pulapre Balakrishnan, there is a book, India's India's economic history from Nehru to Modi. That is also a really good book. Both of these books really provide a comprehensive overview of the economy. And something that did not work for me, I think, in the economy section perhaps, was my specialized domain knowledge of economics. That used to backfire even in mocks. I'm guessing that specific domain knowledge also backfired in the actual exam, which is why I did not score as high as I'd expected to. So for that, I'd say make sure your answers are very general in a general studies paper. That niche domain knowledge should be limited to your optional paper. Other than that, for environment, I relied on current affairs and PT 365 entirely. For disaster management, again, any newspaper articles that have come up, those are important. For tracking the news, I used Atish sir's Tracker Pro. What that does is it classifies all the important newspaper articles in one place जो must read हैं, subject wise हैं. तो अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपने कुछ miss out कर दिया है तो आप ये ले सकते हैं, मतलब you can just refer to his Tracker Pro and वहाँ से article download करके उसमें insights हैं तो वो कुछ pick up कर सकते हैं. How I used this during AWFG was whatever was the topic for the next day, I'd go to the Tracker Pro and see कि उसमें क्या क्या newspaper articles आए हुए थे. अगर वो न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल से आप इनसाइट्स पिकअप कर सकते हैं और अगले दिन अपने आंसर्स में लिख सकते हैं, वो आपके माइंड में सीमेंट हो जाता है. सो दिस इज समथिंग आई डिड डिफरेंटली दिस टाइम. एज फार एज GS4 वाज कंसर्न्ड, आई रिलाइड ऑन अ बुक बाय Mr. Nandkishore Reddy, which was an ethics book made for tailored for the civil services. Additionally, Forum IAS का ethics plus एक कोर्स था जो मैंने 2023 में करा था और 2024 में करा था. So that really helped out. Ayush sir gives you a lot of insights, a lot of notes, a lot of examples which you can pen down during class. If that helps you out, sure you can go ahead with that. Other than that, the book honestly suffices. On top of that, something that I did differently was whatever was there in the news, अगर मुझे लगता था कि ethics में use हो जाएगा, तो मैंने अपने digitally notes में एक separate file बनाई हुई थी जिसमें I used to clip all of these things. If you can do that, that also really helps. So something that I did differently in answer writing was that I would provide reasoning and ethical reasoning for my answers. I'm not entirely sure it worked or whether it backfired, but I picked this up from KM Pathi sir, who runs a YouTube channel. So he says that sometimes you can use Gandhian ethics, sometimes you can use deontological ethics. So anytime you're providing a reasoning कि आप आंसर में कुछ कर रहे हैं, केस स्टडीज में कुछ लिख रहे हैं, तो आप वो रीजनिंग प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं. द कोर्स ऑफ एक्शन शुड बी योर ओन, बट योर जस्टिफिकेशन कैन स्टेम फ्रॉम थ्योरी एज वेल. सो फॉर द essay, I wrote about 4 or 5 essays I wrote in particular this attempt. But during my previous attempts, I had written quite a number of essays. I had written about 10 to 12 essays before I actually wrote the exam. This time, however, something that I did not do previously was brainstorming. I used to pick up a lot of previous year questions with a friend and we used to sit down and brainstorm all of these. Then we used to compare notes, okay, what was your introduction? How many arguments have you written? In an essay, one thing that we have to understand is that writing more arguments does not make sense, but elaborating the arguments that you are using, that is a good way to approach it. There is also a Telegram channel called Letter and Spirit जो Civils Daily run करते हैं. वहाँ पे उनका थीसिस एंटी थीसिस वाला एक कॉन्सेप्ट है. अगर आप वो यूज कर सकते हैं अपने आंसर्स में essay के लिए particularly, that should be really helpful. What they essentially do is that some essays have arguments for them and against them. So if you can club them together, if you can come to a synthesis of some sort जहाँ पे pro arguments और cons arguments आप mix कर सकते हैं, that should really help out. Some essays are elaborated essays. Again, it depends on what kind of essay you're choosing to write in the exam. Do not, in my opinion, choose an essay which you think other people are not writing. Sometimes we tend to have this need to set ourselves apart. Essays should not be based on that. Pick up the essay in which you think you will be able to write a number of arguments and be able to substantiate those arguments. Essay में भी examples drop करना enough नहीं है. उनको substantiate करने के लिए use करिए अपने arguments को. If you're providing an argument A, use an example to substantiate it, not just use that example to build your argument, if that makes sense. So since I've given 2 interviews, my first interview prep was a little longer than my second interview prep because I had more time back then, of course. This time I was in training while I was preparing for the interview, which is not to say it had any impact on my marks. I scored 195 the previous time. This time my score dropped to 193. Which is 2 marks, but it's still a drop. For the interview particularly, I read a lot of magazines, a lot of newspapers. I would recommend that you read as much as you can. Besides that, your DAF serves as your main guiding instrument for your interview. तो अगर आप magazines पढ़ रहे हैं, जैसे Open Magazine पढ़िए, Bio पढ़िए, The Week Padhiye, India Today, there's a lot of other magazines as well, Frontline, Indian Express, Hindu. At least read 2 papers end to end if you can, because the interview will not give you a structured syllabus. Other than that, during your interview, please make sure that you're also exercising, you have some sort of physical activity, because writing the mains is a very difficult experience and it makes us very sedentary in our lifestyle. So make sure you get out of that sedentary lifestyle while you are preparing for your interview. So for the interview last time, I gave fewer mocks, but this time I gave a larger number of mocks, which was because I was a little worried about the interview this time. Again, the number of mocks are something that are very flexible, so it is entirely up to you to decide how many you want to give. Your mocks should just prepare you for the kind of questions that are going to turn up in the interview. They should not be considered the end all and be all of how you are performing in an interview. I know people who've done very terribly in mocks but have actually done phenomenally well in the actual interview, and vice versa as well. People who have gotten amazing feedback from mock interview panelists but actually not scored very well in the actual UPSC interview. So based on that, how to actually answer the interview questions is, the first thing is you should be open to admitting that there are things you don't know. You are not expected to know everything. You are not ChatGPT. You are not the internet. So when you don't know an answer, please be unashamed to admit that you don't know something. But you should always have a mindset which makes you curious, and that should be reflected in your answers. If you don't know something, please say that I'm sorry, I don't know that, and I will go back and read up on it. That intellectual humility should be something that never leaves you, and this is not just for the interview. This is probably gyan that no one asked for, but I'm still providing. So in your DAF, please don't write stuff that you don't actually do. Do write the hobbies that you actually passionately follow. The interview board also will not ask you the random kind of questions that usually mock panelists throw at you. So if you've been doing a hobby for a very long period of time, you've been following it, there are fair chances that you'll have a broad idea of it. I wrote reading as my hobby. Now this doesn't mean that I went into the history of books and when the first book was published, or how the printing press came out to be. Of course, these are things that if you know, they work as amazing snippets or random tidbits to feed to the interview board in case the interview goes in that direction. But if it is something you've been doing for a while, you know the basic authors, you'll know the kind of books that are being published, you'll have a broad idea of the important prizes in reading. Of course, I'm just using this as an example. I also wrote running as an example. So of course, I'm following up on the politics that is surrounding the kind of shoe types in running, the kind of runs that are there, the kind of preparation it takes to run a 10K or run a 15K or run a marathon. These are very valid questions that they might end up asking. They might end up asking, what do you do on a run day? How do you prepare for a 5K? How do you prepare for a 10K? So, which is why it is important to not write stuff that you don't do, because these people are experienced people and it does not make sense for you to try to bluff them, because we will not be able to do that and we should not attempt to do that as well. Preparing for your DAF is an ongoing process. Go for it in concentric circles. Make sure you prepare your basics first. Your subject is done, your current affairs are done, then move on to your hobbies, your DAF, the peripheral knowledge. Make it an integrated thing. Make sure that anything that is coming up in the news related to your hobbies or your DAF or your city, that you are absolutely following up on. So the actual interview experience both times has been absolutely wonderful for me. The interview boards are very cordial and they honestly just want to have a conversation. So if you've not fibbed in your DAF, you'll have a good time there. In case you don't know a particular answer, please admit that you don't know it. Be confident throughout. You've written the mains, you've cleared it, and you're sitting for the interview. So they also know it is not a test of knowledge. It is just it's just a test of personality. If life throws a situation at you where you lack the facts, do you have the humility to admit that you don't know something, or will you still go ahead with the kind of information that is provided? What kind of person are you under pressure is something that I suppose they also try to gauge. So that is something you absolutely have to keep in mind, that the board is not there to reject you. They are sitting there to select you. and treat it like a conversation. Treat it like a conversation with people who have had a very rich career experience, people who are extremely well read, and go in knowing that don't try to, you're not going to bluff them. That is something that is not going to happen. One unexpected question in the interview that caught me off guard was something related to the Shimla GPO, which ideally I should have known because Shimla is where I grew up and the postal service is where I'm training right now. So the history of the building was not something I was entirely aware about. But again, because I was not aware about it, I simply admitted that, sir, I'm sorry, I'm unaware of it. But I'll make it a point to go back and read up on it, and I did read up on it. So do, of course, follow up on whatever you're saying. Something that I did differently this time was a method called blurting out. Anything that I was studying, say I was studying about the environment, I would break it down into water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, and so on. What that also does is it helps you interconnect those dots. How does water pollution link to AI? How does it link to legislation? If you sit down with a page and you write down water pollution on that, and then you go back to how it is connected to agriculture, women's rights, how it is connected to, childhood development. Now these are all things that have to happen in the background. These connections you have to make. So sit down with a page, pick up one particular topic, and cast your net as wide as possible. Think of how it relates to ethics, the ethics of water pollution, where say corporate companies are polluting water. Who pays the price? Think of the economics of water pollution. Think of the politics of water pollution. Everything needs to come into play when you're thinking about one particular topic. That way in GS3 or GS1, if an answer comes around water pollution or water sources, you'll be able to link things which other people might not be able to do. So this is something जो आप हर रोज कर सकते हैं या weekend to weekend कर सकते हैं, depending on how close you are in your preparation. Preparation से पहले मेंस की प्रेपरेशन से पहले अगर आप ये हर रोज कर रहे हैं तो भी चलता है, वीकेंड टू वीकेंड कर रहे हैं तो भी चलता है, पर हर दिन जो आप कर रहे हैं बिटवीन योर प्रीलिम्स एंड योर मेंस शुड बी सिटिंग डाउन विद अ पीस ऑफ पेपर एंड जस्ट ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग अ पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक कि इसको मैं क्या और इंटरकनेक्ट कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ. And this applies across things in the exam, your prelims, your mains, your optional. If your basics are solid, that is the only way you will be able to build upon that. Here is something that I used, which I've not heard a lot of people talk about, but it is something that I picked up from a YouTube channel which focuses on learning. There's a thing called Bloom's taxonomy. It has a pyramid and levels to learning. So the first level, say for example, is remembering, which is where you remember all the facts. After that, you understand it, you analyze it, you compare it, and the last level is creation. So an example that I've given previously also is about family. So if we're studying family in socio, we understand that what are the facts and figures, what is the divorce rate. Then you want to compare divorce rates across countries. Then you want to compare the types of families that exist, whether it's a blended family or a nuclear family. Towards the end though, you come to a level of creation, which is essentially moving top down. So what creation entails is how do you regulate these kind of new families? Is divorce rate something that we can regulate? What are the kind of laws that are in place to regulate families? Can we regulate live-in relationships? So this creation level where you're actively intervening and thinking along those lines is something that you should follow. You start off with the facts which forms your foundation and you build upon that. So you move top to bottom when it comes to understanding a concept, but you move bottom to top when you're moving from foundation where your concepts are clear and then you're value adding to your answers and your notes. Just to clarify, Bloom's taxonomy works top to bottom, where if you're thinking about regulating the kind of family setups that exist, it will make that entire concept more clear, which is how most people operate, but a lot of people don't understand that that is how they are operating. So this is something that I did differently, which I've not heard a lot of people do. So if you can apply it across subjects, say IR, polity, whatever comes to mind, this is something that really helps. That water pollution example also we spoke about. We can think about how we are regulating it. Now what this also does is it adds a certain amount of nuance to your answers. If you're ending your answers with a unique solution or a unique example that you picked up from somewhere. That really sets your answer apart and makes sure that the examiner knows that this person is someone who is thinking like a policymaker, which is what we're trying to convey through our answers as well.